Welcome to the homestead. Sorry that this live stream, that as soon as I sat down to get started, the neighbors started mowing. Nothing I can do about it. That's just life on an urban homestead. Highway seems louder today, too. Whatever. All right. I tried to do this live stream yesterday, but I didn't have the right notes. And since this is a topic that's pretty important, I wanted to make sure I did it right. So I went and reprinted the notes and printed the wrong notes last time. I printed the right notes today so we can get started. So anyway, I'm trying to get to the story of David and his mighty men and show what we can learn from them. Both what they did right and wrong. In order to do that, I wanted to give all the context of the background story. So I started all the way back at Abraham, and we're working our way up through Abraham, the early the patriarchs, Moses, Aaron, or Moses, Joshua, then the judges, Saul, and then we'll go into David and then get to David and his mighty men. Yeah, it's taking a bit longer than I would like, but we're about quarter of the way through. But we're going to be learning a lot of. I've been learning too, a lot of lessons along the way. So this time, our last couple of live streams, we've done the plagues, the Exodus. They're out of Egypt. They've crossed the Red Sea, and then they did some whining and complaining like everybody does. And then they ended up in God took care of them, even though they were whining and complaining, instead of just asking God for help. Again, lots of lessons there. I learned a lot from doing that one. We should go. Encourage you to go back and watch that one. Anyway, this week we're going to be talking about what happened at Mount Sinai and God giving the law and the Ten Commandments. I may mispronounce this as I go through and say cyanide instead of Sinai. I do that a lot. Anyway, so 3 months after the Exodus, the Israelites get there, and God tells Moses to consecrate the people, because in 3 days he's going to come and meet with the people. Now, the phrase "in 3 days" could be translated as "on the third day." It basically means today, there's another day, and then the day it's going to happen. Same thing with Jesus on the cross. Anyway, so the people use that day of preparation. They clean themselves physically. They abstain from having sex. They concentrate everything they are doing on getting ready to meet God. And they're doing the right thing by doing that. And it makes me wonder if I do enough to get ready. I don't. I'm always in a rush and a hurry to get ready to leave for church. It should be a time to prepare to be at church. I need to work on that. And all the people, they were ready to meet God, but they were okay with doing what they were told in order to meet God, but they were all afraid of meeting God because they didn't want God to destroy them like he did to the Egyptians. And all right, God gives them the cleanliness command. He also tells them not to get near the mountain. Moses goes up on the mountain to meet with God, and so he's talking to. So God comes down in a fiery cloud. Now, God's not the fiery cloud. The fiery cloud is to keep the people from actually physically seeing God. Because the Bible says over and over again, if you see God, you'll die. Then Moses goes up on the mountain and meets with God face to face and talks to him. So how doesn't Moses die? Well, it's because the Jewish people, the Israelites, have been struggling with this for a long time, and they've come. It was a popular opinion. I don't know how popular it is among Jewish people today, but that there's two powers in heaven. So just like when Moses talked to the angel of the Lord, and the angel of the Lord looked up and talked to God. So Abraham was talking face to face with God, and Moses was talking to God in heaven, and the angel of the Lord, who is God, standing next to Abraham, was also talking to the God in heaven. And we see in the story of Jacob, him fighting the angel of the Lord, who's also a man and also God. But the angel of the Lord is definitely God and has all the characteristics of a man. So this is, some say, pointing the way to Jesus. Some say pre-incarnate Jesus. Some say it's a timey-wimey thing and it is Jesus, but Jesus always had a body but still had to be born. There's definitely, he's talking to Jesus there somehow. The exact logistics of how that works, I don't know, man. I don't understand everything there is to know about the Bible, and I definitely don't understand everything there is to know about an infinite God. But anyway, Moses is talking face to face with the angel of the Lord, and both of them are talking to God in heaven. And the angel of the Lord tells Moses, hey, go down and remind the people not to rush up here, because the God in heaven will kill them if they do. It's not that he'll murder them. It's more like they're so impure that being in God's holiness will kill them. We have the same problem. It's basically like if you use a flame weeder to remove weeds. No, because that's doing it on purpose. It's more like when you heat up metal and the impurities float to the top, those impurities are destroyed. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Or making a biochar, all the impurities in the wood are burnt away and leaves nothing but the carbon behind. There's probably an analogy there somewhere that would explain it better. But we're so flawed and we screw up so much all the time that we can't physically be in the presence of God because till we get to heaven, because we're so unholy, his holiness will just devour us. Anyway, so this is another place in the Old Testament where it shows that there's at least two powers in heaven. Some places in the Old Testament you can clearly see that there's three going on, and when people say the Trinity is not in the Bible, and especially say there's no Trinity in the Old Testament, there is. You just got to look for it. You won't find the word Trinity because that word didn't exist then. Just like you also won't find the word cheeseburger because the word cheeseburger didn't exist then. All right. So when Moses is up on the mountain, he actually sees the temple in heaven. I'm not sure if if he sees it and looks at it, or if he's physically there, or if heaven and the mountain are the same. I don't know if heaven comes down to the mountain, and that's how Moses can see it. I really don't understand it, but it's pretty clear, or it's fairly clear in the Old Testament that that's what's happening. And then in Hebrews 8, the author of Hebrews clearly states that the tabernacle is a copy of the temple in heaven that Moses saw. And when they build this thing, the tabernacle, it has they put the Ark of the Covenant in there, and they keep saying the Ark of the Covenant is the footstool of God. So there's no throne for God because God doesn't physically live in the temple, but they put his footstool because God lives in heaven, but he has his feet on earth. He's still involved in the earthly affairs. And still ruling over earth. In Mesopotamian mythology, El, by the time of the Bronze Age, the end of the Bronze Age, in their mythology, El had moved on and didn't really care about humans anymore and had left Baal to run everything. And what this is saying is, no, God is still in charge. If you want, leave a comment and we can talk more about El and Yahweh and how God is, how all that works in the Old Testament. All right, but then later when Jesus says that in my Father's house there's many rooms, in my Father's mansion there's many rooms, what it's getting out in Greek is the word tabernacle is the Hebrew word, if you would translate it into Hebrew. So tent dwelling Bedouin, not Bedouin, what are they called that move around? Anyway, tent dwelling peoples in the Middle East that move around, still to this day, they'll have a giant tent, and that giant tent will belong to the elder of the family, and his room is right at the entrance. And then the closer you get to his room, the higher in the family you are. But they divide it up into rooms with curtains. And that's what it's getting at. So, in God's tabernacle, in his tent where he lives. So, in the temple in heaven, there's many rooms there. There's plenty of room for everybody. We can all join God and be part of God's family. So, what we need to be doing is inviting people to join us and not join us, to help people join into God's family. And we need to do that by being a good example. I have a hard time with it. I try to do my best to be a good example and try to do my best to teach people, but I don't always do the best job, and I don't know how to do better. I need to pray about it more. Anyway, so Moses is given the 10 Commandments. So the 10 Commandments represent the whole law. So Moses is given the whole law. But in particular, he's given 2 tablets. Now, a lot of times when you see the 2 tablets in a painting or a carving or whatever of it, it'll have 5 commandments on one side, sometimes 6, 5 or 4 on the other side. No. Moses was given 2 identical tablets because God was doing what's called a suzerain treaty. It's a form of treaty that was common in the late Bronze Age into the Iron Age. So when a king would conquer another city, he would make them he would give them a contract to the vassal city. And the vassal city, the king, so the king that took over would take the signed contract back with him, and then the people that he took over would take the other copy and put it in the temple with their god, saying that if I don't live up to what I agreed to in this suzerain contract, my God will punish me for it. So the 2 the 2 tablets with the 10 commandments on it are put in the Ark of the Covenant, because God gets 2 copies, because God is their king and God is also their God. And what he's doing by giving them this agreement, not just the 10 commandments, but the entire law, is that he's saying, I want you to obey these rules and obey this law, and that will teach you to be better people and to teach you how to go down the road to be my servants. Now, these are you'll see a lot of things in there that today we look at and like, that's terrible. Like the rules of how to beat a slave, all the slavery rules, and some other places where like, man, that rule's terrible. Well, the reason that rule is in there like that is because these aren't rules that are perfect. I'm not saying God screwed up. What I'm saying is these people were rebellious. They were hard. They were stiff-necked people. They didn't know how to follow God. They didn't know how to be that good of people. I mean, they're in the late Bronze Age, early Iron Age. It's a really brutal time to be alive. And they had just came out of Egypt, and that's not a nice place to be at that particular period in time. And also they were slaves, so they don't know how to be their own civilization anymore. So what God is doing is saying, you guys are rebellious and stiff-necked and hard people, and you don't know how to manage your own lives and stuff. I'm going to give you these rules that are a compromise that should be easy for you to do, and they have compromises in them because you're not ready to live a fully godly life and live the life that you should. And we see all the time that they break these rules over and over and over and over again. I'd like to say that we're better at it, but we're no better at it nowadays. We don't have slaves and some of the other things that these problems these other people have, but we have our own problems. And we don't. God or Jesus told us the 2 most important rules are to love God with everything we have and to love our neighbors as ourselves. And we can't even a lot of times manage those 2 rules. I know I don't do it all the time. So what we need to do is remember that when we're dealing with our kids, not to be so strict and like, oh, you didn't load the dishwasher exactly right, or you didn't do laundry perfectly, to realize that they're human and make mistakes, that they need to follow the rules, but don't be a dictator about it. We want the kids to quickly move the laundry from the washer to the dryer. That's mostly because when Sarah was a kid, her mom would leave the clothes in the laundry too long, and they would get mildewy and smell bad. And Sarah's really sensitive to smells, especially mildewy smells. And we don't want the laundry to set in the washing machine. Well, before I came out here to live stream, I was going to switch the laundry into the dryer, and I forgot. So when the kids forget, I don't punish them because I understand they forget. I just remind them. Now, if they're doing something they're doing intentionally wrong, yeah, they're in trouble for that. Or if they just blow off stuff because their responsibilities because they don't care about it, yeah, they're in trouble for that. But if it's a legitimate mistake, I want them to learn the lesson from it and learn the consequences of their action, which may be, in the case of that, they have to do laundry and they're making it more, they see that they're making it more difficult for Sarah or me to do our laundry that we need to do. So they see the consequences of their action, but don't necessarily, it doesn't have to be hard punishment because, like I said, we screw up too as adults. Now, that doesn't mean to let the kids walk all over you and let them break rules willy-nilly. That means be reasonable. So Moses goes down and tells the people the whole covenant, the whole law, everything God's demanding they do. And over again, God tells them in this agreement, in the covenant, and in the law, those are all the same words, or different words that describe the same thing, that they have a choice. They can choose to obey this and have life, or they can choose to disobey this and have death. And God asks them over and over again, please choose life. Choose the better option. Now, this doesn't mean God will kill them if they break one of the covenant laws, one of the many, many laws in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. What it's saying is, if they choose to ignore the laws, if they purposely and willfully sin over and over again and reject God and don't want to be don't want to follow God and don't want to be part of this agreement, then God isn't going to force them to, and God will let them be separated from Him. And the life and death there it's talking about is eternal life and eternal death. God doesn't send people to hell to punish them. What He does is He rewards people that. So let me put it this way: if I was worried about Sarah cheating on me, so I wouldn't let her leave the house, and I locked the doors and took away her phone and her computer and ability to communicate and kept her locked in the house, you'd say I'm a terrible monster. Even though she chose to agree with me. Another example: if a man goes on a date with a woman and she's like, "Oh, no, I don't want to be your boyfriend," and he kidnaps her and takes her home, you'd say he's a terrible monster. Well, God's the same way. If God forced you to go to heaven, you'd say he's a terrible monster because he's forcing you to be with him when you don't want to be. So God gives us all, every single person, a choice. And some people choose, I want to be with God, and some people reject him and say, I don't want to be with God. So God honors your wishes and allows you to not be with him. But that means you have to go to the one place God isn't, and that's hell. And it saddens me that some people choose to reject God. And I hope nobody watching this does. I hope everybody here chooses life, chooses to love God and to be part of God's life. So Moses reads the covenant agreement, gives them the choice, and they all say, yes, we'll do it. We agree to this. But they often make mistakes and don't follow through with it. And it's easy to condemn them when we read the Bible. Like, what are you guys thinking? Why do you keep screwing up like this? Why do you have idols? Why are you going to war when you're not supposed to? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And we do the same kind of crap. We have opportunities to love God and love our neighbor more, and we often choose not to. And if you want to make America great, don't wait for some politician to do it. Don't wait for a politician to build back better either. They don't care about us. They don't care about you. What you need to do is make America great again by making yourself a better person and helping lift up the people around you to be better people, and by loving God more and by loving your neighbor more. That's how you make America great again. Alexis de Tocqueville, he wrote the book Democracy in America. He's a French dude, long time ago, like 100 years or so ago, more than 100 years ago. He said America is great because Americans are good. So if you want to make America great again, Americans need to start being good again. And that starts with making yourself better, making those around you, helping them to be better. So if you want to join me on more conversations along this line or conversations about homesteading and preparedness and stuff like that, come join the conversation. We have a Telegram group. It's t.me/prepare to prosper. I'll put a link down in the description. Or you can search Prepare to Prosper on Telegram and join the conversation. There's not very many people there, so it's not really active, but I'm working on that and trying to bring more people in as I try to grow this channel. So I hope this was a blessing to you. I hope you learned something. I know I learned something, not just when I prepared the notes, but sitting here reading them to you or talking to you guys about it. And that's the thing with the Telegram group, is I want it to be a conversation back and forth. I don't want to just be me. I love me, you should love me too kind of channel or kind of thing. I want to learn from you, from other people, about preparedness, about homesteading, and about living out our mission. So that's all I have for today. Like I said, I hope this was a blessing to you. Hope you learned something. I know I did. And remember, we prepare today so we can prosper tomorrow.